What a win then by Pakistan. The men in green shining through at a time when it was required ahead of that T20 World Cup. A well-deserved trophy, and it's a whitewash by Pakistan over Australia. What a win of this series, and they've been magnificent in every department whatsoever. Pakistan making 207 for 6. This is the second time that they made 200 in this series. And Saim Ayub amongst the runs once again, scoring a 50. Babar Azam was amongst the runs, which is great for him because there was a lot of talk around his form. Shadab making 46 in just 19. There were two cameos. Khwaja Nafe was given an opportunity and he grabbed it with both hands and scored 21 in just 12 balls. In response, Australia once again lackluster, didn't really have any answers to the spin attack of Pakistan. And Mohammad Nawaz picking up a fifer in his 4 overs. Shaheen Shah picking up 2, Naseem 1 and Abrar 1. Pakistan winning this by a huge margin of 111 runs. Well, this was just a magnificent performance by Pakistan. They've won this series 3-0, and the timing couldn't be better because it is ahead of the T20 World Cup. Australia was always going to be a challenge, although it's not their first string side. However, a win is a win, and congratulations are in order. To talk about this win and generally how Pakistan performed, how Australia performed, I've got with me Bazat Khan. After a long time on pitch side, they seem to have forgotten you, Baz.
Yeah, they don't like my I'm a face for radio.
The producer is screaming in the air because he begs to differ. But we'll come back to that. I'm sure you have a lot to say because you haven't been on the show in a while. Kat, thank you so much for joining us once again. Baz, first of all, a huge win for Pakistan. Of course, we talk about the fact that Australia was not fielding their strongest side, but the fact that they've gone on to win 3-0, and that too in terms of the timing. Overall, thoughts on the win?
Yeah, not often do you say that Pakistan whitewash or clean sweep Australia in a situation where not in one game you thought that no, Pakistan is going to lose. They've always been in front of the game. Batting-wise, they've been brilliant. Bowling-wise, the spinners have so many options now, and it's sort of clicking at the correct moment. And even fielding, I was sort of went under the radar, but I don't remember any mistakes in the field either. So that is huge in terms of where Pakistan are at. And going into the World Cup, I think the core group in terms of the captain and the management now will be very settled. It's not very often that Pakistan go to a World Cup and you think, well, most or 90% of the boxes are ticked. This is a sort of an area that we've never been at. And I think it is the one thing that Pakistan would have wanted would be this script written, that you win a series, you win it very comfortably, and also the fact that your top players now are back in form. Shaheen Shah, Afridi, this game bowled well. Babar has got runs. Salman Agha now at number 3. So everything very smooth. Hopefully this should continue. All of this will remain behind, but this should continue in the World Cup, and that's what now everybody is expecting.
Australia don't want this to continue, whatever we saw of them, the little that we saw in this 3-match T20 international series. A lack of intensity as well, Kat. We spoke about, the execution and how they're finding it difficult to face spin. But intensity-wise, were you disappointed on that front?
It's always hard to know because the players are always trying, and there's some young players out there. We saw 3 debutants in the first game, so they would have been a little bit nervous playing in these conditions. They've been completely outclassed. The gulf between the two teams was visible in all the games. Even that first game, Australia lost by 22 runs, but they were never really in that game. So I think there'll be concerns around how they approach these conditions in Sri Lanka and India. Potentially the wickets will be a little bit different to what they experienced here in Lahore, but I think the concern is the form. There's a number of players that, aren't in as good as form as they probably need to be, but also the players that have been out injured, they haven't played a lot of cricket. So it's never easy in this form of the game just to rock up to a big tournament like the World Cup and turn it on immediately. I mean, Australia have got a great track record in World Cups, but, in foreign conditions in particular, it will be a challenge. So there's plenty of questions, but maybe it's the kick up the backside they needed leading into the World Cup, because they've been playing a lot of good cricket in all formats for a long time now, whether it's winning the Ashes or beating India and winning World Cups previously. But this is going to be a challenge for them, and hopefully they can reassess and be better for this experience. But they're a long way behind Pakistan at the moment.
Well, Pakistan has a lot that they can be feeling good about, and one of the things is Salman Agha's own form and his leadership. I mean, everyone spoke about the fact that, he needs to be scoring runs, he needs to be leading from the front. What did you make of his leadership and overall his contribution with the bat?
Look, once a batter is in form or is scoring runs or as a bowler is taking wickets, then that flows through. The confidence and the ability to make decisions flows through in his captaincy. I think this is by far the best place for him to bat. Remember in the PSL when he got runs, it was up the order at number 3. Now, it'll be interesting how teams now in the power play bowl to him. We've seen that in the power play when the spin comes on, he's very dominant. I think teams will now be thinking, if Salman Agha comes in at number 3 and it is the power play, we'll just bowl pace, because the spinners we've seen on a surface which gripped a little, but he's got all the shots. He's got the ability to hit down the ground, the sweep shot, the ability to use the pace. We've seen this in test match cricket, even one-day cricket, but in T20 to do it straight up from the very first ball, I think that holds very good for Pakistan and holds well for his captaincy, because now that he's scoring runs and now that he's sort of cemented his place at number 3, now he can make even better decisions when he's in the field.
Yeah, you spoke about his decision-making becoming better because of the fact that he's growing in confidence and scoring all these runs. But just also in terms of how he's rallied his, men together. You talk about leaders taking the team along and making sure that there is cohesion within the setup. It seems, Baz, at least it appears to be, that the team is getting along really well.
Look, a new captain takes a little time, a new management takes a little time on what players they want and how they're going to approach every game. So I think they've had a long run now in terms of Pakistan. They've had an extremely long run, Mike Hesson and Salman Agha, and now he's come to terms with what he requires in the players and what sort of tactics he's going to play with during a game. So I think that has sort of now combined, and the management is now pretty relaxed because they know that they're now quite strengthened in the spin bowling department and also in the batting department where they can make runs quickly. Now, I lost my train of thought because somebody was going to run across me right now. He did. I told you I was.
You can come back to your point.
I told you I was face for radio, and he didn't like me on camera again. But yeah, just those 8-9 months that they've got, they're now in a situation where they can stamp their sort of reading of the game on the 11 players that they play, and they want to play in a particular way. They've just sort of resisted the fact that, okay, these are your set openers. They've gone to their own brand. They want players to be able to express themselves. There's a lot of talk about playing too many all-rounders, but that's the way that they want to play. And now that the results are going their way, I think it is a very good omen going to the World Cup.
Absolutely. Kat, you said that a lot of the players are out of form, and that is a concern. So how do you get back into the form is the question, because you don't have a lot of time. There's not a lot of time to turn things around. This is pretty much the squad that you have. But we know one thing about Australia, and I'm sure Baz will agree on this. No matter what their team is, in tournaments, they have the ability to just perform and deliver and somehow sneak through the semi-finals and finals, and then, who knows, go on to win trophies. So we know they can never be written off.
No, they can't be written off because, that's part of our DNA as players growing up. It's always about winning trophies, and this group know how to win things. But they're a long way behind at the moment, given the way they've played here. And also some of the players during the BBL, Glenn Maxwell's probably not coming in the greatest of form. They've left Steve Smith out of this squad, and he's been in career best form. And I think when you look at this squad here in particular, there's a lot of experience there coming back in, but there's also a lot of players there that haven't played a lot of cricket recently. Hazelwood's hardly played all summer. Nathan Ellis is coming back from an injury in the BBL. Glenn Maxwell's had a bit of a rest. Tim David hasn't played for a while now, but if he fires, he's a big in because, we've seen him in the last 12 months. He's been dominant in this team and been able to bat higher in the order. And we know that a number of these players do play well in Indian conditions, so they've struggled here, But they'll go into India confident that with the right preparation and the right work that they do, and hopefully the intensity levels will go up, because I think what we've seen here, you're right, they were lacklustre, and I think there's a number of players that have probably played a lot of cricket recently, big Ashes series, maybe just a little bit flat coming here. Maybe it was just tick this box, let's get to Sri Lanka and prepare there, but they've got some work to do now.
Yeah. Baz, Mazhar, I think, put up a graphic that we saw, and I'm not sure actually if he put it up, but it was about the spin bowling average of, collective spin bowling average of Pakistan in the last 1 year. It's right behind India. And just talk us through in terms of what you think of this spin bowling attack, because you've got so many different options now.
I think it's very important. I think Abrar has bowled beautifully. Don't give him enough credit because he's the leader of the pack. We talk about Nawaz, who's bowled beautifully throughout these 18 months or so, but I think Abrar is sort of head and shoulders above, and he's the leader of the pack. Then you've got Usman Tariq, the mystery spinner. So especially in Sri Lanka, where Pakistan are going to play, if you've got two bowlers on top of their game and difficult mystery spinners, you've got 8 overs, which is a huge bulk of overs in a T20 game. I reckon the challenge for Pakistan will be if they can play them together in each game. I know Hassan and Salman Agha want a lot of all-rounders in their team, but if you have two specialists who can actually turn the match around, that makes a huge difference in a 20-over game. But yeah, the spin bowling is fabulous. Shadab now comes in, he's bowling well. You've got batting almost all-rounders who turn their arm over and are specialist spinners as such. So Nawaz and Shadab, it's a massive difference. You have the likes of, you go back to the likes of Hafiz, you got Imad Wasim who did a similar job. Pakistan now have 2 of those and then 2 quality spinners. So I'm not surprised the way that they're performing.
And also the all-rounders, because Mohammad Nawaz, he took a 5-wicket haul today, but let's not forget his efforts with the bat. In the last 1 year or so, how do you think he's developed his game where he's scoring runs for Pakistan as well?
Look, I've said this before, I was quite apprehensive once that game against India went, where Kohli got, I think, 22 runs off him, and it was a huge game, a massive. But I thought that this might dent his career a lot, but he's come back very strong. I think that has actually worked in his favour. Now he's bowling as well as he's ever done, and in the batting he knows his strength, and he's not shy of then being able to attack the fast bowlers, but also attack the spin. But I think he is in quite brilliant form, and I think a lot of credit must be given to him for him being so mentally strong to be overcoming such a huge deal. A lot of players would have just faded away, but to overcome that and come back, that shows that he's got a lot of character.
The approach in the power play, when you talk about the conditions that we'll have in the T20 World Cup, just looking at that, I mean, would perhaps Australia have to adjust and adapt themselves? Because you talk about the subcontinent, very different to how we see the conditions in Australia and on that side of the world. I mean, do you think that they'll perhaps need to learn quickly, because these are the kind of conditions that we'll be facing?
Oh, that's one thing that stood out in this series. Australia, with the ball and the power play, were well short of the mark. And for so long, we've been blessed having someone like Mitchell Starc swing that new ball. Josh Hazlewood, he hasn't played in this series. So they've been dominant in the first 3 or 4 overs. And when there's early strikes, that brings Adam Zampa in the game outside the power play. But as we saw here, Australia with the younger, inexperienced spinners having to bowl on the power play, with only 2 out, it's a big ask. And Kuhnemann, he found it tough here. Cooper Connolly did okay, but he found it tough as well. So, that's going to be the challenge for Australia, is trying to get those spin stocks up to scratch at international level to be able to bowl the tough overs in a power play, if it's going to be hard work for the quicks, because we know in those conditions the quicks can't always just take the new ball, because you might have a match-up like we saw here where you need spin early.
All right, then, lots of questions and a lot of areas that need addressing. We're going to take a short break here on Pitside, and we'll be back to discuss more and, of course, looking ahead to that all-important T20 World Cup. we're back on pitch side discussing Pakistan's fabulous win over Australia and also the preparations with regards to that T20 World Cup. Baz, you said that Pakistan seems to have most of the areas covered. You also spoke about fielding and how it's overall improved in the last 6 months. But is there any area, any batting number or any missing link in the puzzle when you look at that team? There's always room for improvement.
You look at the
Something
middle
you'd
order.
like to see.
You look at the middle order and you don't have a standout batter who can actually finish games. Shadab played exceptionally well, so they're relying on the all-rounders to do that job. I think it's very difficult to have an absolutely complete team in any sort of tournament or any complete team. You look at the greatest teams; those was complete teams. They had players for every situation. They had high-quality players. Pakistan. Maybe you look at the middle order, maybe that's a concern. Also, maybe the combination that Pakistan will bowl. It is quite a risk if you, even in Sri Lanka, I think they have matches on SCC, and that's not a pitch where you can just go with spinners, and it's not a pitch where we'll turn square. So how many fast bowlers do you play? Do you risk just playing one fast bowler? Do you risk just playing a couple of fast bowlers? Because in and out of the power play and the back end, you need fast bowlers. It'll be interesting how they manage that. But it's a problem of plenty with the bowling. I think the batting, they just need to make sure that the middle order finds its tone. That's all everybody's area of concern, is that 5-6, 4-5-6. Maybe Babar got a 50 today, but ideally Babar should be batting sort of higher up the order, which is, I think, not the case now. But that 5-6 is a slight area of concern.
Kat, from Australia's perspective, when you look at that squad and you look at the resources that they have, I mean, what kind of combination do you think would be ideal for them? I'm talking about, like Baz mentioned, the fact that Pakistan has the option of going in with just one seamer. So I think, how would Australia evaluate that decision, or what would be the ideal combination for them going ahead into the World Cup?
Yeah, look, they'll chop and change depending on who they're playing and what sort of surfaces they're on. But I think the big question for them is, you know, they'll want to have batting depth because they've always had that ability to have someone still coming in at probably number 8 that can turn a game. You know, Glenn Maxwell might line up at number 7 in this tournament. You know, we've seen Tim David move up the order to sort of 4 or 5. He's played that role in the past. But they do have that capacity, particularly with the power at the top of the order. I think if they get off to good starts with Head and Marsh, and then wherever Green's going to slot in 3 or 4, I think he's going to be in that sort of vicinity, they'll have the power. It's just if conditions aren't in their favour, like we saw here in Lahore, then what are they going to do? And that's why I think everyone back home in Australia is asking the question, how is Steve Smith not in this squad? Because he's got the ability in subcontinental conditions to be able to manoeuvre the ball around against spin when it's turning and play those sorts of knocks that can still keep the tempo of the innings going through the middle, rather than what we've seen here where wickets just keep losing, you know, in clusters and there's been no real momentum in the innings. So I think there's that factor, but then the bowling factor will be which spinners or part-time spinners do they use to complement Zampa, because here in these conditions, Pakistan have really exposed that aspect of their game.
Yeah, just thinking about Australia. Australia start off in Sri Lanka. They'll be then shift to India. I think India will suit them better with their batting. They've got a lot of power hitters, but the area of concern for me is still the bowling. As Simon just pointed out, I think the bowling has to come to fore. They don't have apart from Zampa, they've looked a side which can be taken apart with the fast bowling. Hazelwood was such an important bowler at the top of the order, the power play, but I think more of a concern, although they've not gotten a lot of runs, but once they shift to India, more of concern would be the bowling rather than the batting.
All right. In terms of, you know, you spoke about Pakistan, and have you been pleasantly surprised with the kind of approach that we've seen at the top from them? Because 72 runs were scored in that previous game in the 6 overs, and generally there seems to be intent. You know, we keep talking about that one word, but it's being executed to perfection as well, Baz. I mean, we talk about how Pakistan is lagging behind in the modern day T20 cricket. Were you pleasantly surprised, or you saw this coming considering the setup?
No, absolutely. The way that obviously we all always knew that Salman Agha is a good player of spin, but the way that he played was was quite a surprise. Saim Ayub coming into form. Simon talked about players in form. He is now in form, and he's very dangerous when he is in form. And he's taken his time in T20 cricket. He hasn't mastered that as yet as he's mastered one-day cricket. But him being in form gives you another dimension. You can even tinker with Fakhar actually at the top of order. And when those two fire, Fakhar at the moment not in form, that probably is one box that hasn't been ticked. But when those
I was going to come to that.
when those two fire, then it can become really interesting. But the way that they batted, the way that they fielded this series, I don't think you can fault them.
All right, then. There you heard it from Baz. They've been really good with the bat and the ball, and as well in the field as well. We saw some brilliant catches being taken. So that's one department that's definitely been looked after in the last year or so. We'll take another break here on pitch side, and we'll be back just in a bit. We're back on pitch side, just discussing Pakistan's win over Australia and looking at the preparations that we have ahead of the World Cup. One aspect of Pakistan's batting, Baz, because we've been talking about the missing link or something perhaps that Pakistan needs to work on. Individually, everybody has done well. Fakhar Zaman is somebody who Pakistan has relied on as a clutch player, as someone who's won them lots of games, but he's not been in the best of forms in the last couple of months.
Yeah, he's the one player that you look at. You look at Babar and Fakhar, the experienced players, but they've shifted up the order now. They've shifted down the order, but they know the importance of Fakhar Zaman, especially as a left-hander in the mix. I think he should come good. There's not a lot of discussion about Fakhar Zaman in terms of whether he has the ability to perform in big matches. That is an issue. He's not in form so far, but I think that the team and the management are right behind him, so that'll give him some sort of stability in terms of, yes, I won't be sort of sidelined. But yeah, there is that problem. I think even Sabzada Farhan, for him in the series just before the World Cup, he would have liked to score a few runs and go into the World Cup, cementing his place. Now, those two, there's obvious issue, and I don't think that everybody can be in form, but you would like Fakhar to just get a few runs because he is so dynamic.
Anyone who's particularly impressed you from the Pakistan camp, Kat?
Plenty of them. I've been really impressed.
Someone who's been a standout for you?
Oh, look, I think the youngster at the top of the order, I think Ayub has been excellent. I think, and not just with the bat, I think he's played an important role being able to allow Salman to free up his mystery spinners through the middle. So by him bowling 2 or 3 overs in the power play, and let's not forget, he got Travis Head out twice in the first 2 games. So I think that was a real positive. And then Shadab's form. I think he's given them the flexibility now to have that 4th spinner or mystery spinner in the lineup, because he can bat at 5 or 6 and play a really aggressive role at the back end of the innings. We saw it today, a magnificent 46 off 19 balls, and he's got some serious power. He's some big 6s today. So, and then young Nafay today, he was good to watch as well. So he's got a bit about him. So plenty of positives there. And then Afridi, let's not forget him, swinging that new ball both ways. He was excellent.
Absolutely, he was magnificent with the ball today. But we've got a bit of a surprise for you, all of you that have tuned in and watching us here, because it's time for the T20 World Cup kit unveiling ceremony. And for that, let's head over to Rumiz Raja.
We're absolutely ready to introduce the World Cup T20 26 kit. And it's a special moment for all of us, not only for the cricketers, for the administration, but to call on the game as well. So it's perfectly placed, because after downing Australia 3-0, it couldn't have been a better moment to unveil the kit. May I invite the players to please come forward on the red carpet? We've got 3 on the right and 3 on the left. They're wearing the kit as well, or the jersey. And may I now invite Chairman PCB, Mr. Mohsin Naqvi, to please come forward. And Najam Sethi, ex-chairman, is with us as well. So pleasure having you too. The powerhouse of cricket. Right, now a little bit about the concept of the kit. It's called the Vanguard Makhor edition. And it's not just a jersey. It's a mark of valor. Every thread carries the echo of fierce bowling spells. Every stroke breaks the silence with a roar. At the ICC World Cup 2026, Pakistan will rise from the shadows, leading the charge. Introducing the Pakistan official jersey, the Vanguard Markhor edition for the ICC World Cup 2026. Right, let's see the jersey on the big screen. Right, and now the players are wearing that jersey. May I please ask you to unveil the Markhor? Yeah, it's beautiful green. You can turn around as well, Salman Agha. Yeah. Looks solid. And all the best, because the merchandise during the World Cup will sell like hotcakes, and I'm sure this will be taken by the fans in a jiffy. I've got the PCB chairman here with us. Anything you want to add to this?
I just want to wish them best of luck. And I'm very much hopeful that these boys will come back with the trophy, inshallah ta'ala.
Inshallah. And quickly, this performance against Australia is world-class, absolutely. I mean, I've got to ask your thoughts, your emotions right now.
I am really, really happy because this is a team everybody would like to have. And all of them work really hard. The coaching staff, the team players, and everyone. So credit goes to them.
And finally, Seri Saab, have you watched any of the Australian T20s?
I have, and I must say that the team is now coming along nicely.
All right, okay. Any special performance that you want to mention?
Well, I mean, I was quite happily surprised at the spinning combinations we put together. I think this is a good sign. But I do want to say one thing. This striptease was quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's we could only go as long as we can regarding the situation. But anyway, they look glorious in the new jersey. And, well, that is what we have from here.
All right, then. What a beautiful kit that we've now got a chance to witness. It's been unveiled in the most interesting fashion whatsoever, and you've got to say that it's very pleasing to the eye. So a huge congratulations. This is what you'll see all the players wearing. Baz, thoughts on the new jersey, new kit?
Yeah, it looks solid, and what's happening?
Can you please elaborate on why there's so much laughter here on pitchside, Kat?
It's better than solid, Baz.
Okay.
How good is it look?
Solid is an understatement. That's what he's trying to say.
Yeah, but Seti Saab, he summed it up well. So we don't need to elaborate too much. But yeah, hopefully this is the jersey that'll be etched in the memories of the Pakistan cricket fans, and they probably they've got a huge chance of actually making history.
The Markhor reference is interesting.
Yeah, the Markhor is our national animal, and is quite fierce in the way that it fights. So, yeah, that's the way that they want to make sure that they play the World Cup too.
All right then, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your thoughts. It's been a pleasure to have you here talk about Australia versus Pakistan. Kat, special thanks to you as well. You've been entertaining us with all your insight and providing us with all your expertise, and I believe that you have a flight in a couple of hours, so you definitely need to get going. Baz, you also need to be getting going perhaps to Islamabad, so I'm sure all of us are getting back to business, and we'll be back with the next series whenever that happens. But for now, it's the T20 World Cup that we're all looking forward to. I'm sure you all have been thoroughly entertained in this 3-match T20 International Series. The crowd has been brilliant, so kudos to them for showing up in huge numbers. Gaddafi Stadium never disappoints. Until next time, it's goodbye from all of us.